Hey guys, after a few days of research, I'm adding epidemiology into my material science knowledge, but we're all learning this together. I've changed my design a bit, and this tutorial is how to make a mask of your own at home with supplies that you might have more readily available to you. The research available shows that 2 layers of t-shirt material that's tightly knit is actually really effective. And in this mask, I have those 2 layers of t-shirt as well as non-woven polypropylene. Non-woven polypropylene is really common in these pretty accessible, often free grocery bags. You can see if you look closely, it's got a kind of grid pattern, dot pattern pressed into it. It gets fused together. And it actually has a really great both breathability as well as a filtering ability. And this is what you find on the inside of surgical masks, and it's actually in kind of high demand right now. Be sure to not use a plastic coated polypropylene. This is a really similar bag to this bag, but you can actually hear the difference. This has a coating of plastic on top of the regular non-woven polypropylene to give it more waterproofness, but we don't really want that for our mask. We want more breathability. So avoid these plastic coated bags. Thanks to your donation, I have all kinds of bags in the wash and drying. I'm cutting them up. I was able to get 12 masks out of this one bag, so thanks so much for your donations. I'm still really struggling to find the pieces for a nose. Oddly enough, I've been collecting and recycling t-shirts for years and years now, so I actually have quite a great stash of a suitable t-shirt material, and I'm sure that you have something at home as suitable. You can go ahead and hold it up to the light. You just want to not get a lot of light through it. Especially if you don't have any non-woven polypropylene, you're going to want to make sure your t-shirt material is really tightly woven, knit actually. Because we're going to be hand stitching around this, we don't need the extra space that is on my prior video. So I've been cutting my t-shirt pieces to 7 by 9 inches. Now that you have your t-shirt material, some non-woven polypropylene, and hopefully a tie of some sort, elastic, a shoestring, any sort of cord that you can use to tie your mask on. Some of you probably don't have elastic around, so a shoestring is going to be your best bet, and that's what I'm going to go with for this video. So the minimum things that you'll need to hand sew is some thread and a needle and some kind of scissors. I've got snips. So go ahead and thread your needle, and you'll want to double your thread over. So you just take your needle and pull enough that you have 1 arm length or so. You don't want to get too much, it'll knot. So I'm going to start in the top right corner of my mask. Make sure my pieces are all together. And if you have some pins around, you can go ahead and pin it. Safety pins work great. If you don't have straight pins, again, never share pins. Everyone should have their own pins. So we're going to do a blanket stitch around our mask. To do that, we're going to take our needle and go in through the back side, about 1/4 inch from the corner, up through the back. I'm going to take the end, leave a couple inches and tie it off. Just two little ties should do it. Now I'm going to keep my thread to the left with my left hand and just keep working my way to the left with my needle. Over 1/4 inch, you see I'm going to slip my needle in front of that thread, and when I pull it, I'm going to get a loop. Leave it to the left, needle over 1/4 inch, needle in front of that thread, pull it, loop. You can trim this tail if you want, if it's in your way. Let's go ahead and get rid of it. Thread to the left, needle in front of that thread, Now that I have the 9-inch top and bottom stitched, I'm going to place my nose piece inside and do a little running stitch around that. So we just learned a blanket stitch. Now we'll learn a running stitch. Taking this, placing it in the middle, inside, and centering it. Now that I have my nose piece in the middle of my material and centered, I'm going to take a new threaded needle and slip it between these two pieces of material and pull my needle up and leave myself a few inches of the end there. And then I'm going to start a running stitch all the way around my nose piece. And that you can just rock your needle back and forth. I'm doing the top as well because I'm a little bit worried that the stitches that we made a 1/4 inch apart won't necessarily handle the amount of wear that we're going to put on that nose piece whenever we adjust it and wear it. So I'm just going to couch it with a nice little set of running stitches. And then when I get to the end of my wire, I'm going to go ahead and turn my corner. And here I'm going to do a few extra stitches, really nice and tight, to make sure that nose wire doesn't drift after wear and wash. Turning my corner here and doing some nice, really tight stitches to make sure that my nose piece doesn't drift. You could go over that a couple of times if you'd like. My video cut off as I finished this, but I just came back around, pulled the needle through the material, and knotted those two ends that I had off in the middle of the material so that the knot isn't going to irritate the wearer. Now we're going to pleat the sides. I mentioned this in the first mask making video I made. This is just one really quick way to do it. I put a pin in the middle and then a pin each 1/2 inch out. I have a total of 9 pins here. That's going to give me 3 pleats. Once I have my pins in place, I can go ahead and pleat these down so that I have 3 1/2 inch pleats folded down from my nose piece. I start with my middle pin, meet the 2 pins on either side of it, and then fold that down and anchor it. Move over, fold those down, anchor them. 2 pleats, and the last one. I really hope some of y'all have elastic at home. I feel like it makes it a little bit, holds it a little tighter to your face, but ties are a really great way to go if you don't have elastic, and anything's better than nothing. So I have 2 shoestrings, and I'm just gonna fold those in half and cut them in half so that I'll have 4 shoestrings or 4 pieces of shoestring that each have the shoestring edge on the finish. Now that my edges are pinned in folds and I have my shoestring cut, I have 4 pieces of shoestring, I'm going to insert my shoestring into each corner as I finish the edges of my mask. I've been folding mine over like this just to make sure that it doesn't fray on me. I left this tail so I can tie off to it. Going back and forth, around and around my shoestring. I'm personally more concerned with strength than looks here. Once I'm satisfied that my shoestring isn't going to go anywhere, I'm going to go ahead and do the same blanket stitch that we did on the top and bottom for the edge. And this time it'll be a little bit trickier because I'm going to be going through the triple layers. So there's a total of 9 layers on these, and that's when you might want to have a thimble. The edge of a table that you don't care about also works. You can use a piece of wood, but it might be a little hard on your fingers to get your needle through those 9 layers of fabric on the edge. Making sure that the tops and bottoms of my folds are well couched in my blanket stitching. Making sure to hit each one with my needle. Maybe my stitches get a little bit tighter here, just to make sure. Now that I'm getting close to the edge, I'm going to grab another shoestring, slip it between my layers of material, stitching the heck out of it. Forms following function here. I don't really care what it looks like. I just want to make sure it don't go nowhere. And make sure to go ahead and stitch on both sides of your shoestring, all the way across it. This is one way that you can tie off at the end. I just have my needle and thread here. I'm going to go into my material and out again in the same front. Instead of pulling it all the way through, I'm just going to take these ends and tie them off. There's actually 3 ends now. Thanks for making your own mask. I think it's really important that we all think about resourceful, reusable solutions, and there's not enough paper mask, the surgical grade paper mask for medical and emergency personnel. So the more we make and use our own masks, the more that those masks will be available for the people who really, really need them. Be sure to wash your mask after each outing. There's a lot of detergents available. There's a lot of research available. I personally am using a 50-50 vinegar wash as well as a heavy base. That would be soda ash or baking soda. Those two are heavy bases. And between that, as well as just regular detergent and hot water, I'm disinfecting all the material that comes in, making the masks, and then disinfecting them before the masks go out. Every time you leave your house, you should also take it off immediately, wash your hands, maybe wash your face, and this should go directly in a disinfectant. So you might consider making 2 if you're a grocery worker or someone who has to leave your house. If you don't have to leave, please stay home. I know you're lonesome, so am I. We got to get through this together, and the more safe we are, the more we keep each other out of harm's way. Thanks for making your own mask. Take care.